What up, everyone? This is day 21 of my 30-day YouTube challenge. For those of you that are watching this video and haven't followed my 30-day challenge, this video is a part of that series, but I have a feeling that it might take off as a standalone video on its own just because of the topic and the way that I'm going to um, market the video, so to speak, with the title and everything. So, this video is titled Why I Stopped Smoking Weed. So, to give you a little backstory, I started smoking weed after high school, the summer after high school back in 2010. I had never inhaled any smoke, proactively prior to that. I had drank a little bit of alcohol, not really. I didn't party in high school. That wasn't my thing. That wasn't my lane. However, prom night after party, I decided that it was an appropriate time, if ever, in high school to go to a party and smoke weed and drink alcohol. Long story short, I did that, and I realized that smoking weed wasn't the devil. I wasn't going to die. I wasn't seeing dragons, and for the most part, it was an experience that I could tolerate. Because that's what it started out as. My first experience smoking weed, I did get stoned. I had like a laugh attack or the giggles in the beginning, which was followed by a state of paranoia and a serious case of cotton mouth, which is dry mouth. So it was a roller coaster. The first one was a roller coaster, but I was down to try it again. Not necessarily because the high was great, but the social aspect and the acceptance I got from my peers by smoking weed was much higher than it was before. So fast forward that summer, I smoked a ton relative to what it was before. It wasn't long before I was smoking by myself at night. And at first, it's like this honeymoon phase. Like, oh my god, this is brand new. Like, I want to experience everything that I've never experienced while being stoned before. I want to listen to music. I want to watch this movie. I want to watch that TV show. I want to go here and there, blah, blah, blah. I want to play this video game. Anyways. When I got to college after that summer, I decided that partying, smoking weed, and drinking alcohol was the perfect medium for me to create a social life. Because in high school, my social life slowly dissipated to nothing in terms of satisfaction. And I found that socializing through partying, weed, and drugs, alcohol, was more effective than whatever the fuck I was doing back in high school. So that's exactly what I did. I ended up like influencing, in my perspective, my entire dorm suite into smoking weed. There were 10 of us. There were 4 rooms, two triples and 2 doubles. There were 10 of us total. And at one point or another, everyone smoked weed. But not everyone had smoked weed at initially, like before we all had met. It was the way we socialized. We'll smoke weed, play some Super Smash Brothers, eat some pizza. It's all gravy, right? And that's completely acceptable, socially acceptable in terms of college, right? Or even being young, or even just in general. It's in a way socially acceptable to smoke weed casually, recreationally, chill out, and it's so common, at least in my perspective. So just imagine that going on all throughout my years in college. However, There was very early on, so I'm getting texts from my friend. There, very early on, a knowing that I don't really have control over this. Meaning, I would smoke when I knew I should not have smoked in terms of my responsibilities. Yet I still did it anyways. And so I developed this habit, this neural connection, this muscle, this mental muscle of not saying no and just saying yes. Whether I was saying yes to wanting to be high or the opportunity, it slowly became less about socializing and connecting with others and feeling accepted as much as it did just being stoned and preferring that feeling, that state. Which turns out was more disconnected than it was being connected. Anyways, so... and prior to smoking weed, I was someone of high integrity and responsibility. And so to experience myself with weed, be someone who just can't fucking control themselves, I was experiencing what it's like to have the body, mind, and emotions be more influential than my independent willpower. And that was very new for me. It was scary because in a way you feel, I felt like a slave to forces outside of my willpower. It really felt like they were more powerful than my willpower. And in a way, if it were a boxing match, my willpower versus my habits, my impulses, in the span of 5 years when I was smoking, even it was 6 years actually, 6 years that I was smoking, my smoking habits won 1,000 times, and maybe my willpower won like 50 times, 100 times. It was a blowout. It was a fucking blowout. So yeah, and this is my journey. I'm not here to make a general claim on what weed is or what weed isn't for you. I support the benefits that weed brings to people's life. I don't support enabling someone to use it in a harmful way if they are aware that it's harmful and are looking to stop. Because it can be and was for me used in a destructive way, and that's for any act or behavior, it can be destructive. That's why there are people who are considered workaholics. If anyways, so I quit, and I don't. The word isn't even quit. The word for me isn't even quit. I consciously chose a pathway, a different pathway for me and weed, so to speak. If you've ever tried to quit something that you truly enjoy but know that is not serving you, it's difficult. It's difficult because on the one hand you really like it and you don't think it's something that should be frowned upon, but at the same time you're aware that doing it going forward would not be beneficial to you. So it's like, it's this sense of giving up something that you love. that can be difficult to maneuver. So what I did, which is something that I had never done before, on a very practical level, I partnered up with someone to be my accountability partner. Luckily for me, that person I didn't hire. However, that person is a very qualified accountability partner for me. She had gone through a very similar journey in terms of smoking a lot of weed, doing drugs, and needing to stop. And she has stopped, and she's much older than me. I think she's like maybe 45. And I met her at the Tony Robbins event at Date with Destiny. And so I check in with her every week on Thursdays, sometimes earlier. And she has it in her schedule, I have it in mine. I check in with her. I checked in with her yesterday on Wednesday. So that's one thing that was different for me. Someone to hold me accountable. And it's not to be perfect, it's not to, but it's to be accountable. And then the second thing I did, which was very different as well, because as someone who's smoked weed as a part of their lifestyle, I've gained, a reputation among certain people that I smoke. As someone who's down to smoke, DTS, if you will. And that reputation exists within some social circles as well as in my head, my identity. So, on Christmas, as one of my presents, I received some weed. And this was almost a month after I had last smoked. And for me, this is a typical and can be expected to be a typical experience to have moving forward. Just because I quit doesn't mean the world will stop presenting weed in front of me. It's up to me and how I decide to act in relation to those situations. So very typically, this weed was in front of me, right? About 3 weeks removed from the last time I smoked. Had gone through the whole 9 yards already. Told people I'm done. Blah 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 blah. Told myself I'm done, right? Throw away all my stuff, all my stash, all my paraphernalia. Told my friends that this is it for me, and here I was with a nug of weed that I got for Christmas. And just like in the old ways, that voice in my head that would say, what's the big fucking deal? Like, it's just one time. Like, what's the worst thing that we could do? We haven't done it for 3 weeks. Like, what's the big deal? It's going to be so fun. Like, this would be just so fun right now. And we could always just, tomorrow, like, just get back on it. Like, it's all good. Like, no worries. And mind you, that same story is the same story I would tell myself in the past. And it never fucking worked out. I would always go a couple weeks, 3 weeks max, not smoking, smoke again on the justification of that story I just shared with you, and then go right back to smoking every day. Seriously. And what didn't help was people just telling me, like, oh, be more responsible. Like, I get that now. I get that now. But clearly that's not what I needed to hear, because if that's all I needed to hear, then I would have just done that. There's something else in the woodworks that needed to be done that wasn't being done. So what I decided to do was, that night, Christmas Eve night, I had the nug. I was, really, I was drunk, and I was really explaining to my sister, like, why can't I just smoke this, and blah, 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 and, but luckily I had some experience in that if I just give it a day, like, if I just go to sleep and don't smoke that night, and I wake up the next morning, I'm usually grateful and happy with the fact that I didn't smoke, usually, because you know what, the high, the being stoned lasts, like, an hour, 2 hours max, and then you're just tired, and then in that 2 hours you eat all the shit you wish you didn't eat. At least I did. I eat all the shit I wish I didn't eat. I just sit there mindlessly, just staring at the screen, watching YouTube, barely even there, tired as fuck, right? Unable to do anything else for the rest of the day. So what I decided to do was I got home on Christmas night. I had the nug of weed on me. I threw it in this jar, right? I threw it in this jar. It's no longer there. I threw it in this jar. And I put a cap on, and I labeled it for when you become a millionaire. And what this did for me was it created this emotional and psychological understanding that there will be a point in time where I will be 100% okay and fully acceptant and allow myself to smoke weed again. Like, there will be fully a time, and that alleviated the pain of the idea of never smoking again. Because that sounds fucking harsh. That'd be like saying, I'm gonna quit pizza and never have it again. Like, sure, that's fine. Like, you can do that as a choice. Of course, 100%. Like, that's always an available thing. Just like I'm never gonna do meth. You know what I mean? But be really fucking honest. Be really honest. Like never again. Like, never a fucking piece of pizza. Like, you know, if there's that much pain around pizza, then sure. If there's that much pain around weed, then sure. Like, by all means. But just be honest. Like, do you really want to quit all your life, or do you really just want to stop for a little bit, or whatever, you know? Anyways, so the reason I put this in particular, millionaire, is because if I'm being honest, you know, I want to live a life that having so much money allows me to do. You know, I want to be able to give people gifts, like fucking crazy gifts. I want to be able to take people on trips. I want to be able to take myself on trips. I want to be able to buy this kind of car, buy this kind of house, buy these kind of clothes, you know, and not have to worry about the price tag, so to speak. Not to be mindless and just spend, you know, willy-nilly, but just to, you know, if the options were to choose from any car you want, or just the cars like under $3,000 at the used lot, come on. Like, of course, I want unlimited options. If the choice is to go and travel lavishly on a jet versus walk everywhere, like, and they're just two different styles. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have a used car. Used cars are fine. It's the idea that I couldn't even choose from the Lamborghini lot that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about necessarily being flashy, although I know for sure that going forward there will be a sense of flashiness and, like, look at meanness to it. That's just part of being human, like, you know. But I'm not gonna not admit that I want to have those things just because there is a connotation of flashiness to it. Like, what's the other end of the spectrum? Like, be super humble and under the radar and just, like, bust? Like, it's just a choice. Like, that's just a choice. Like, it's whatever. Like, I'm down with the bus. Like, fuck yeah. Like, who cares? It's just about having options. One day I want to go on the bus. Another day I want to helicopter in. Like, you know what I mean? So that's really what it's about, the millionaire part. Just to live a life that is full of any and everything that I can imagine, you know? Like, anyways, so yeah. And the very next day after I did this whole spiel, and actually I see a little like, I don't know, little shreds of weed in there. The very next day I ended up giving the nug of weed to my friend, who I used to smoke with all the time with, and I just felt like it wasn't necessary to have the weed in there. It just wasn't, because I wasn't gonna smoke it, you know, and like I felt much better about gifting it to someone than just having it there as a potential, you know, issue for me. So yeah, that is how I stopped, or why I stopped smoking weed. For now, at least. It's been fucking tight. You know, mind you, I've found other ways to distract myself and disconnect myself from the world, but I'm at least happy with where I stand with weed. And you know, whether you're watching this because you're just interested in my journey, or you're watching this because you are looking for an answer to what you're going through with weed, or maybe it's some other drug, you know, you'll find the answer that you're looking for. Everyone's journey is different, so I hope this helped you. And if you know, need a little more one-on-one time with me in regards to this topic, you know, let me know. Message me here on YouTube. Find me on Facebook. Yeah. So that's it. That is day 21. Thank you for listening. Peace.